The Russian seizure of a key town in eastern Ukraine underscores the dangerous and immoral bankruptcy of the Biden-Harris foreign policy. Hello, I'm Steve Forbes, and this is What's Ahead, where you get the insights you need to better navigate these turbulent times. After a year-long series of bloody attacks, Russian forces finally captured Vuhledar, a Ukrainian stronghold in the eastern part of the country. The Kremlin's strategy is crude but effective. Hit Ukrainian defenders hard from the air and ground with missiles and artillery, then send wave after wave of infantrymen into Ukrainian lines. Russian casualties are appalling, but Ukraine grudgingly gives ground to these grinding attacks. And here's where we get to the heart of the mindless, monstrous, and unrelated to reality foreign and security approach of the Biden-Harris administration. The White House still acts as if we're living in a world where nations live by our notions of international law. If we just make appeasement concessions, our adversaries will appreciate our generosity and weakness and become ever more responsible citizens of the global community. If diplomacy doesn't work, try more diplomacy. The preposterousness of this mindset leaves one speechless. President Biden warned Putin in late 2021 and early 22 that he'd get hit with really tough sanctions if he invaded Ukraine. After witnessing our humiliating surrender in Afghanistan a few months before, Putin invaded anyway. The original Biden-Harris reaction was to offer sanctuary to what they assumed would be a fleeing President Zelensky. Only when Ukraine demonstrated that it could fight effectively did the U.S. move to supply armaments. And scandalously, the Biden-Harris policy has been to never supply Kyiv enough weapon systems and munitions to repel the invaders, which Ukrainian armed forces were quite capable of doing. Russia, for instance, is able to fire 3 artillery shells for every one for Ukraine. Every upgrade in military help has come from pressure from our allies. We never took the initiative. Why? Biden and Harris were afraid of overly upsetting Putin. Every time the Kremlin dictator or his minions muttered threats, the Biden-Harris diplomats scurried to the corner like shivering, whining dogs. After Israel was attacked a year ago by Hamas, an Iranian proxy, the Biden-Harris administration almost immediately cautioned Jerusalem to be restrained in its response. Get a ceasefire was their mantra. A rudderless Washington still lets Iran flout sanctions by turning a blind eye to Tehran's multi-billion-dollar sales of oil to China. Needless to say, Biden has just declared his opposition to Israel destroying Iran's nuclear bomb facilities. Such an act should have been done years ago. The White House has exercised this kind of irresolution towards Beijing's aggressive military and diplomatic maneuvers. We take steps, but they always smell of hesitant half-steps with no overall strategic thinking behind it. No wonder in the Middle East, Jerusalem has taken matters into its own hands. All of this kindles profoundly disturbing doubts about the reliability of the U.S. as the effective leader of the free world in counteracting China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, and their terrorist organizations, the way we did against the Soviet Union during the Cold War. Thanks to our aimlessness and weakness, an increasingly unstable world is drifting towards a major war. I'm Steve Forbes. Thanks for listening. Do send in your comments and suggestions. I look forward to being with you soon again.